This game is crazy. You got this fire sword and then you whack the crab with the pizza on his head only to find out there's two even bigger crabs and they're all fighting each other. It's got bananas, it's got hats, it's even got giant robot crabs to get a hold of your enemies with. This game was released back in March, right before the quarantine on mobile platforms, but it just recently came to the PC about a month ago. Is there anything at all that could take this game down a notch? Well, let's find out. This game launches you right into the action and the tutorial's fast and the controls are simple. The goal of this game is, you guessed it, to become the king of the crabs, to become this undominable monster of the island. No one can beat you, cut the video. You start out as a tiny crab and you have to work your way to the top. You do this by battling other sea creatures and eating their remains. Tools that can help you on this quest arrive in these crates that you can break open, and funny enough, even the other non-playing characters in the game will break these boxes open and brandish their contents. Everything harmful to crabs is available in these crates. You got kielbasa, you got the sword of 1,000 truths, and even stuff to protect you, like this turtle shell. Now, it might be tempting to go straight for the sharp objects like the cleaver, but in my experience, hand-slappy wands are just as effective at dismantling your opponents for different reasons. So all of this sounds really good, and in theory, it is. But here's where we run into a couple problems. As you start becoming a bigger crab, you start slowing down a lot, and this is a huge map. It is not easy to get around. Yes, you have one boost that you can use to scurry around quickly, and a special ability of one type of crab that can make you go really fast for a short duration. But that's still not enough to get you around to all of the fights in time, and everyone else is looking to do the same thing. A common tactic when a crab bigger than you pops their head around the corner is just to run away as fast as you can. Now, I realize this is intended gameplay and a mechanic that's supposed to be used wisely, which is your boost and your speed. However, when you become a big crab and you slow down a lot, it is nearly impossible to get anything to engage you or to chase after the other crabs without using all of your special, which is on cooldown until you whack a bunch of things. When you become big enough, the pace of the game slows down considerably. Many times, you'll find yourself using your boost just to get from one place to the other, not even using it as a combat tactic to engage other crabs, or any of the mobs that you have to munch on to keep your health from falling down, as it is always doing that no matter what part of the game you're in. Now that last part I can appreciate. It makes you think about your resources, where you take your engagements, and that is good. It makes sure no one's ever invincible, and this is more of a game of finding out the best time to attack rather than being the biggest, strongest crab on the island. But the speed of the crabs is just too slow, especially when you get to be a large one. Now, the speed of your crab can be upgraded, but you either have to spend a lot of time grinding it out to get this, or you can pay for it. I am always against paying just to make the base gameplay enjoyable. In addition to that, you can pay to have these overpowered upgrades as well, like that robot crab I showed you guys earlier. You just be starting out as a tiny little crab, and then the crab death destroyer comes along and just one-shots you, and it really makes the gameplay not as fun when you're just getting smashed by these pay-to-win players. I think that limiting purchases to cosmetic content would have been a much better way to go, because there's still lots of interest in this game and people would be willing to pay for all these like silly hats and weapon skins and crab skins that you can get. But in the state of the game right now, it is definitely more of a pay to win type of situation. That's not to say you can't have fun with it, but it is going to be unfair at times. But fear not, all is not lost. The developers actually had a little bit of foresight into this and disincentivized bullying players that aren't around your level. So let's say you're Willy the Whale, you spent like $1 million on the ultimate death crab, and then you see a little crab starting out. You go and you one-shot him Well, guess what? You don't get any experience for that, your crab doesn't grow at all, you really don't get anything from it other than making another player suffer. So, that's a good disincentive to not go around just smashing people who are still trying to grow in the game. The spawns can be a little janky sometimes, but in my entire experience of playing this game, I only ran into an issue once or twice when I spawned right next to a crab that would gain a lot of experience by killing me. Finally, one last gripe I have about the game is a technical issue. There's times when I just really would be lagging terribly during gameplay, and with internet speeds that average around 150 megabits per second to 200 and a ping of 14, I don't think it was my internet connection at all, but rather a technical error on the game side. And when it gets laggy, it gets laggy. I'm talking barely being able to turn corners, not even having forward momentum sometimes, and forget even trying to engage in a fight because you don't even know where you are half of the time, and when it updates, you're not even gonna know where they are half of the time. So that was frustrating. So does this game suck? Well, I would say this game sucks situationally. When you just spawn in and somebody has a bunch of upgrades because they paid for it and you just get demolished, that does suck. Or when you're playing this on a PC and the lag spikes just go through the roof through no fault of your own internet connection and it's just unplayable for a couple of minutes to maybe an hour or so. I would say that absolutely does suck. But I do like this idea that there's this epic battle for the island and you're trying to be the saltiest guy at the salty spittoon versus everyone else who has to go to Weenie Hut Jr. The combat is super entertaining, you can see what other players are thinking when they see you and they start scuttling away, but this game really makes it hard to get across the map. And coupled with lag spikes and some overpowered players, this can make for a very mixed experience. It's definitely not for everyone. The final verdict is that this game kind of sucks. But seeing that it's in early access right now, I'm crossing my fingers that the devs are gonna smooth things out.